I should probably start with the awkward part. The voice you are hearing right now is not a person. It was assembled, and the words I am saying were drafted by a language model too, which makes this a slightly strange thing to listen to, a machine explaining how machines make things like itself. But I think that is exactly why it is worth doing. Because if you are going to trust one of these, you should know what is underneath. Let me walk you through it, start to finish. Step 1 is the script. A large language model gets a topic, just a topic, sometimes 3 words, and writes out something like 5,000 characters of spoken text. Not an essay. It is written for the ear, with pauses and hesitations built into it, because a model reads exactly what is on the page. Give it polished sentences, and you get a news anchor. Give it, a little stumbling, and you get someone thinking out loud. Step 2 is the voice. The text goes to a speech model, and here's the thing people usually get wrong about this part. It is not stitching together recorded syllables. It predicts sound the same way a language model predicts words, one small slice of audio after another, each one conditioned on everything that came before. That is why the intonation lands in roughly the right places. It is also why, when it fails weirdly rather than obviously. Step 3 is my favorite part, honestly, because it is the bit that sounds made up. The finished audio goes into a second model, a listening model, Whisper, which transcribes it back into text, word by word, with a timestamp on every single word. So the system speaks, and then listens to itself, and writes down what it heard and when. That timing map is what lets a drawing appear at the exact moment the word is spoken. And step 4, this surprises people, has no artificial intelligence in it at all. The drawing engine is ordinary code geometry, particle physics, a photograph of a hand moved along a path. The ink swirls because somebody wrote down the equation for a swirl, not because a model imagined one. Which matters for the question of trust, because that part cannot hallucinate. It can only be badly programmed, right? So where does it actually go wrong? The script, always the script. Recent benchmarks put hallucination rates for the frontier models somewhere between 3 and 19%, depending on the model and on the kind of question you ask. And the worst category, consistently, is citations. Even with extended reasoning switched on, made-up references still run at around 12%, which is a horrible number, because a fabricated source is the most convincing thing a model can hand you. The listening step has its own failure mode, and it is a stranger one. Whisper does not just mishear things. On silence, on background noise, on a long pause, it sometimes invents entire sentences that nobody said. A study called Careless Whisper found that 38% of those inventions carried real harm, false attributions, invented violence, authority that was never there. On clean recorded speech, the error rate is tiny, under 3%. In a noisy room, it climbs to 8, 10, 12. There is one more thing that changes how you should think about all of this, and it is not a technical property. It is the cost. A talk like this one costs about 2 credits to voice. Call it a few cents. The script takes a couple of minutes to write. The rendering runs while you make coffee. And that changes the failure mode completely. When something is expensive to produce, somebody checks it, because the checking is cheap relative to the making. When it is nearly free to produce, the checking suddenly becomes the expensive step. And, that is usually the step that gets skipped. So let me be precise about what is solid here, because it is not all equally shaky. The synchronization is solid. The word appears when the word is spoken, and that is measured, not guessed. The rendering is solid. The voice is solid. It says what the text said. What is not solid is whether the text was true in the first place. Every reliability question in this entire pipeline collapses into that one question. And that suggests, I think, a fairly simple rule. Treat one of these videos the way you would treat a very well-read acquaintance at a party. The structure is probably sound. The overall shape of the argument, usually fine. The specific number, the specific date, the specific citation, look it up. Not because the machine is lying to you. It has no idea what lying even is. It is doing something more unsettling than that. It is producing the shape of a true sentence at speed, and it genuinely cannot tell the difference. That is the part worth remembering when the ink stops swirling.